It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, answer. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Welcome on in to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM The Fan. Streaming online at 1069thefan.com and on the 1069 The Fan mobile app. Also available on our podcast feed, which you can find on the website and on the mobile app, or pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Just search for the Full Court Press, either myself, Jason Walker, or Eric Frandsen. You should be able to find us. You can also find us on YouTube. Heck, our podcasts get published there. So
that's true.
So pretty much wherever you can find a podcast, you can probably find us.
Yeah, search for Full Court Press. There's some other podcasts out there by that name. So to be sure you're getting the right one, include my name or Jason's name in your search, and you'll find us.
Yeah, it is not too hard to find us. Or follow us on social media. You'll get the picture eventually. The Young Power Sports of Logan text line is open. 435-339-0321 is the number to text in. We had some texts come in during yesterday's 5 o'clock hour. Didn't quite get around to those. We were talking about Jazz tanking. We're going to get to that again today because there's more people talking about it. And so, yeah, we got to.
It's become a major talking point in sports media, but more specifically in NBA sports media.
Yeah. The whole problem with tanking, and I was looking at some data today, and I'm going to see if I can either make some kind of social media post or article or something about it, or we'll talk about it here, just how much of a problem is tanking. Are the Jazz doing it worse somehow? Again, it's a topic we did touch on yesterday, but we will touch on it today, although I don't think we actually published our second hour podcast.
Oh, we'll need to do that.
So those of you who listen to our podcast feed won't have actually caught that conversation. But we'll touch on it again here. We'll start off talking about what happened yesterday with Utah State men's basketball. Is they took on Fresno State, got themselves the win. That was what it was expected of them. They were expected to win by, depending on who you asked, anywhere between 16 and 20 points. The Aggies end up winning by 13, 91-78. And, had a good offensive day, mostly led by the bench. The starters, did have a decent amount of scoring, but the Aggies had 43 bench points. And what do they make? 48 for the starters? If the maths...
Mathing math.
Yeah, something
like that. Yeah.
So we'll start with that, but we'll also get into high school basketball. The stat that blew our mind, Full Court Press Players of the Week. Pac-12 scheduling news set to come out after we get off air, like an hour and a half after we get off the air.
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah, it's
they know they can't do it while we're live.
It's bullcrap is what it is.
They don't want us reacting to it in real time.
Apparently they don't want anyone reacting to it in real time.
Yeah, which is really weird. Like, there's a lot of things that I'm excited about with the Pac-12, but some of the things that they do and have done in the past and continue to do just has me scratching my head. Like, they must have access to metrics and analytics that I don't see and that most people don't understand.
I don't think they're going by the metrics. I think that some intern had the idea of saying, let's do Pac-12 After Dark, because that's the meme, and it's all about social media engagement. So they desperately wanted to use the Pac-12 After Dark hashtag and then just threw everything else out the window.
Yeah, because East Coast, they're going to be in bed. They won't care.
Yeah.
Or they're going to bed. They won't have time to react. If you did it this morning, it's a unique scheduling model. I know we'll get into this more later, but it's such a unique scheduling model that this would lead a lot of discussions today. Tomorrow, Yeah, it may still be a topic tomorrow, and they'll have a little bit more to ramp up to it. But instead, everybody's like trying to find things to talk about. So all they're discussing is what the Jazz are doing in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, we'll certainly get into that. So let's start with the game that happened yesterday with Utah State and Fresno State. A few texts rolling in on the Young Power Sports Logan text line. We'll get to those in a second here, but just initial thoughts on the game. The Aggies, as I mentioned, supposed to win by 16 or 20. They win by 13. Is there any amount of concern that you won by 3 or fewer points than you were supposed to?
I mean, there was stretches of the game where Utah State was up by 20. They were up by more than 20. And then they did seem to relax a little bit in the last couple of minutes while Fresno State kept fighting.
Referees certainly didn't relax.
Oh, that is a whole other topic. First half, like, okay, game flow, let the players play. We're not going to go to the free throw line. The refs are not deciding this game. And it's like they have a quota that had to be met, and they realize, oh, we're behind. We got to catch up on how many times we blow our whistle. But that was very frustrating. The game just kept going and going and going. But I was a little bit concerned that Utah State apparently didn't really learn its full lesson from their last game that was played against Wyoming. That you have to continue to play and compete till the final whistle, the horn. The clock says 0 across everything. And they left the door open a little bit for Fresno State. Am I concerned? Not totally. They still beat Fresno by double digits. They're projected to win by 20. Do they have to win by 21 to get the best metrics out of it? No, not necessarily. But I don't know. I mean, you look at the how many minutes were played by the guys, and you didn't really have anybody that was on the court for really a super extended amount of time. Colby King off the bench played the most minutes for Utah State, just 29 seconds over 30 minutes. So your starters, nobody played more than 26. That was MJ. Your other guys, Mason only played 23. Drake plays 20 minutes. Zach Keller plays 21. Adeline Elamine only plays barely under 19. So your starters didn't have a big run, and the bench was playing great. So let them play more. Am I concerned that they only won by 13? Not really. I'm not concerned isn't the right word, but kind of raises an eyebrow that they allowed Fresno State to hang in it and get it as close as they did. Not that 13 is really close, but that they didn't really apparently learn the lessons of what happened against Wyoming just in their most recent game.
Yeah, this is another game where you don't really have anything to complain about with the team offensively. You score 91 points in a game that had 68 possessions. You shoot 50% from the field, 42% from three. It's the most three-pointers the Aggies have hit in a game outside of the 19 they made against a Division II team. They had 20 assists to 9 turnovers. 9 turnovers against a team that we talked about yesterday previewing. This is a really good Fresno State defense at forcing turnovers. They weren't bothered in the slightest by Fresno State, and they made mincemeat of Fresno State's perimeter defense. Just pass it around, drive and kick, pass it around the arc, and you found a wide open, 3-point shooter. It wasn't just that they were making a bunch of tough 3-pointers. They were just getting wide open looks.
Yeah.
And Fresno State, the best they could do was like a late closeout. It's like, late closeout against Adeline Elamine. Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be, really afraid of Zane Collins, closing him out, from 15 feet away. So that's something that Utah State did incredibly well. They also did fairly well in the paint, not as dominant in the paint as they were, because they had to rely on the paint when they beat, Fresno State last time. But 34 points in the paint. You go 14 of 22 on shots at the rim. That's solid. You're not really going to complain too much. There were a couple of missed layups that you wouldn't have liked to see, but whatever. It wasn't bad. Again,
turnovers were down.
Yeah, basically, if you're finding fault with the offense, you are really going in and splitting the hairs that really shouldn't have to be split.
Yeah, it's just that 4 minutes to go, Aggies are leading 86-70. They only managed to score 5 points over the last 4 minutes. So I get it. You've got a healthy lead. You're playing well, but you've got to know how to finish a game, close out a game in clutch minutes. I mean, it's not super clutch because there was a wide margin. It wasn't a close game, but still, you only managed 5 points in the last 4 minutes. Again, it's not a big concern. I'm not waving a red flag like we've got to panic. Yeah. But I mean,
you say only 5 points. The lead was only shaved down by 3 points in the last 4 minutes.
Yeah.
That's like one made bucket.
Yeah. But yeah, close out the game. You don't have to totally freeze your offense. But you should still be competing until it's 0-0-0. We saw what happened against Wyoming. You don't want to leave the door open for an opponent. I know, yes, it's on your home court and your crowd's feeling great, but gosh, you had a 14-point lead over UNLV in the second half, and that turned into a train wreck.
Yeah, in this kind of situation is why you leave your starters in or your better performers in so late. Because, I mean, they did bring out MJ Collins with like 4 minutes and Elamine with 4. So but I think they still had Mason in toward the end. You had Colby King in. You had Drake Allen. You had some of your key guys in the game late so that you don't lose that 20-point lead that you had with about 6 minutes to go. At least you don't have it cut down all the way to like 9 or 8. That's why Fresno State had most of their starters in late in the game, because they want to be able to try and shave that margin down. It's all about the metrics and on all of these different things. So you don't like to see a 22-point margin that they had in the second half go all the way down to 13. But as you said, it's not the end of the world. It's one of those things to work on. But really, where I mentioned that the offense, there's really nothing you can nitpick. It kind of slowed down in the last 3 or 4 minutes. They scored 5 points in 4 minutes. That was probably the worst stretch of offense they had in the game, and is mildly excusable. But again, if you're getting down to that, we're really nitpicking.
Yeah. And
not even really criticizing. Again, it's just nitpicking. It's things that, someone like Coach Calhoun will lay into his players about, because he's got to focus on those details. But the thing about this game that was a little annoying for the Aggies is their defense. They had 4 straight games. They had the 2 games where they allowed 80+ points. 4 games after that, they held all of their opponents, some good offenses, to under 70. A couple teams to 61, a couple teams to 66. Then they allow 83 to Wyoming. I say, okay, is that a 1-game hiccup? Is that just, Wyoming had one of their better games from 3? They made a bunch of 3-pointers they don't normally make. It's kind of like when they played San Jose. San Jose hit 1,000,000 threes that they typically don't. So your response to that is then give up 78 to Fresno. And to be honest, in a lot of ways, this was a decent defensive game for the Aggies. You hold Fresno State to 40% shooting. You hold them to 27% from 3. But it's all those free throws.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's the free throws. Because it wasn't that necessarily they gave up a ton of threes. They held them to, 8 of 29 on the game. But in the first half, there was, 2 free throw attempts?
Yeah,
by Fresno?
There was 1 free throw attempt by each team in the first half.
Yeah, and then it's I guess I got this on the wrong page. Yeah, 1 of 1.
Yeah.
1 free throw attempt by Fresno State. They ended the game 18 of 23. That is way too many free throws in one half.
So 17 of Fresno's 43 points in the second half.
Yeah, that's just inexcusable.
Yeah, and a lot of that just came in spurts, because you look at the scoring in kind of the last part of the second half. Like, let's see, there was a stretch from, I think I put this in my recap, but there was a stretch from like the 15-minute mark, actually, the 16-minute mark, or 16 and a half minutes left to go in the second half. And from then until about the 6-minute mark, and so a roughly 10-minute stretch in the second half
of game clock.
Fresno State hit 3 field goals, but they scored, I think it was 13 or 14 points on free throws alone. So like in that stretch, they made 3 field goals and scored like 18 or 19 points.
Yeah, so defensively holding them out of good shots, but they send them to the line.
Yeah,
and I don't know that Utah State necessarily was more aggressive. I didn't see Utah State defend differently in the second half. I don't know that I saw Utah State functionally change in the second half. I think referees called the game a lot tighter. And, if as a coach you see the referees start to change how they're calling the game, then you probably need to adjust a little bit. But the referees changed how they were calling the game in the second half. I don't think Utah State changed how they were defending in the second half.
Yeah. Well, I think you're spot on there, but one of the things the Utah State kind of did change where they were a little more sloppy is there were so many, ticky-tack fouls they committed. The other team gets the rebound and you put 2 hands on them, it's a hand check foul. And yeah, the referees were being a little bit more strict about it to the point where it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, and Elijah Perryman pushes a player and he gets assessed a tee, and maybe the refs feel like, oh, we got to tighten this thing up. We don't want this to get out of control. I don't know. But yeah, Utah State, if they've got a lead, they can't get complacent. They can't get comfortable. They can't relax. They can't forget the finer details of how to play. You're right. There were plays where they got a little bit lazy in how they were defending, and they sent Fresno to the line way too many times because of that.
Yeah. Let's get to the Young Power Sports of Logan text line before we hit our first break. 9310 saying, any surprise that our deep bench didn't get any run? Maybe a little. You might have thought that Tucker and Jordy could have gotten into a game like this. This is the kind of game they could have maybe played a couple of minutes, but since that lead went from 20 to 13, that probably, killed any chance. Like if the Aggies were still winning by 20 with 2 minutes to go, you probably would have seen Tucker and Jordy come in.
Right. Or if you're up by 20 with 4 minutes to go and you're playing good defense and you're not constantly sending the opponent to the free throw line and leaving the door open, then maybe you start to see a little bit there. But Elijah Perryman played 19 minutes. Colby King played more than 30. Gary played 15. Carson played 24.
Yeah.
So your bench
a
good run.
Yeah, the bench got a good run. The deep bench didn't, though, and that was from the texters that the guys, again, basically Jordy and Tucker and Luke as well. I'd put that in there. But that's where you're leading by 30 or 30 plus, 20, 30 plus.
Right. As long as you keep that door cracked open, which they did, then you got to go with your guys that you have trust in.
Let's go back to the text line 5338 saying, I'd like to thank the Fresno State men's basketball team for participating in a Mountain West Conference game at the Spec last night. Coached Elder Dale G. Renland. Are they saying that Vance Wahlberg looks like Dale Renland? Not sure I fully.
Not sure I've.
The joke went over our head. 5338. You're gonna have to help us on that one.
Help us out.
7994 saying, I was at the game last night. The first half went really fast. The second half was weird. There was no flow. It was hard for the Herd to get involved. The play off the bench was impressive. Once again, Templin found a way to impact the game. The most surprising thing was how furious Coach Calhoun was during the last timeout he called. His face was so red that he could have passed as anger in the movie Inside Out.
I wasn't surprised. Look, this is a coach that's trying to tell his guys, like, come on, we can't be lazy on our defense. We can't, because Fresno State had a quick and easy run to the hoop. And that's a great coach doing what a coach should. Like, we have to stay focused. Every play, we have to be on point. And they were that play specifically, guys were just kind of being very casual coming down the court. And as we've detailed, Utah State didn't want a repeat of Wyoming. And if they continue to be casual on defense, more casual, then who knows what could have happened. But it's not likely in your house. But Utah State can't afford to be casual on defense.
Yeah.
If you're up by 30, you can maybe have a casual defensive assignment once or maybe twice during a game.
Yeah.
But Coach Calhoun's not having that. He wants his guys to play through the final whistle.
Yeah. And again, that's and it also goes back into the thing with the metrics. The metrics care whether or not you win by 20 or win by 13. The Aggies didn't really get burned. I think they actually moved up slightly in Ken Palmer, at least the night of. They didn't move down.
They moved up 1 in the net.
Yeah. So
they're currently at 24.
It actually didn't really hurt them that much. But
Fresno State moved up 2 with the loss.
Yeah, basically. being only losing by 13 when you were supposed to lose by, again, 16 or 17. Let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. We've got a few more texts on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. So we'll keep on this topic, keep talking Utah State basketball, and then we'll also shift into talking a little bit about Mountain West basketball. A couple games last night, other than Utah State Fresno, though none of them were particularly interesting. One was kind of interesting for a while, but we'll get to those next here on the Full Court Press.
The chips and drinks are endless. The burrito is huge for only $7.95. It's got to be Cafe Sabor, Cache Valley's best Mexican restaurant and gold medal winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Experience Locals Day every Thursday with a huge burrito, endless chips and soda, only $7.95. Finding any lunch under $10 is nearly impossible. Every Thursday, drinks, chips, and a massive burrito. You pay just $7.95. The food, the fun at Cafe Sabor in the historic train station on 6th West and Center in Logan.
We're talking with Tyson from Mountain Valley Heating and Air Conditioning about air quality.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be surprised to learn that the air inside your home is 5 times worse than the air outside.
So Tyson, what can people do?
We install steam humidifiers into homes. Steam humidifiers use 1 gallon of water per hour, and they use 100% of that 1 gallon to humidify the air in your home. So if you call Mountain Valley, we'll come out and do a free assessment and see if it's a good fit for you. The phone number is 435-753-5170.
This Valentine's Day, give them something that lasts longer than flowers, something warmer than chocolate, and something that creates meaningful moments all year long. A Serenoni blanket, soft, luxurious, and made for cozy moments together. Shop online at Serenoni.com or stop by our showroom on 10th West next to iFit and feel all the different cozy fabrics before you buy. Wrap them in love this Valentine's. Wrap them in Serenoni. For more information, go to Serenoni.com. That's Saranoni.com.
Hi, I'm Justin, owner of Master Auto Tech on Wall Avenue in Ogden. At Master Auto Tech, we are experts in performance exhaust and high-flowing mufflers. So if your car is too quiet or the wrong sound for your liking, come see us at one of our 25 Utah locations, including Logan, Brigham City, and Ogden.
Your trusted, helpful expert, Master Auto Tech.
Old McDarrell has a farm and appliance farm.
With down-home country prices and big city selection.
E-I-E-I-O. When you're looking for a friendly spot to drive a little and save a lot, hey, Old McDarrell has a farm. An appliance farm. No overhead, but lots of country charm. See Darrell's Appliance in beautiful downtown Benson.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM The Fan. Got the Young Power Sports of Logan text line up and running. If you want to chime in on any of our topics, text 435-339-0321. Have a few more texts talking about last night's Fresno State Utah State game, 9-15, saying Mason had enough rest that he should be golden for the next game. Yeah, Mason only played 23 minutes. A lot of that had to do with foul trouble. He got into foul trouble in the first half, and then in the first couple minutes of the second half, he picked up a third foul, had to go to the bench. Didn't end up having his greatest game, went 3 of 10 from the field, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers. But, you know, stars are going to have an off night. It's going to happen to him. Mason's entitled to his off nights. Just means that he's not going to win Mountain West Player of the Week, which, I mean, even when he has a good week, he can't do that. So
that's right. So why try anymore?
Yeah, might just go for that Mountain West Player of the Year award. So, but
yeah, I think that this team's depth, the way they're playing right now, the way that they're home this week, and they're going to be home for a little while, it's really advantageous to find ways to sneak extra minutes away from your stars. And I'm not just say starters, I'm going to say stars. Your main impact players. The more rest you can give them, the fewer minutes they have to play. It's going to pay huge dividends, not just this week against a Memphis team, but this can pay big dividends in March. Like the less miles you put on your body now will give you more miles to play at a higher level in Las Vegas and hopefully in the NCAA tournament too.
Well, it's even more important because Utah State is basically the only team in the Mountain West that isn't really going to get a bye. Like this week was like between this Fresno game and the upcoming game against, I think it's Boise State next. I suddenly can't remember. I was looking at it earlier today and I still can't remember.
Verifying. Stay tuned.
But they were supposed to have a week off this Tuesday to I think next Tuesday or next Wednesday.
Yeah, next Wednesday, Boise State.
So that was supposed to be a full week off, time to rest, especially late in the season. It can be very advantageous. I mean, San Diego State, they're currently on their bye, so to speak. They didn't have a game in this midweek section. Their next game is on Saturday. And I think Boise State also having an off day or an off week because I don't think they played in this midweek section either. So Utah State isn't going to get a bye. They're going to play Memphis. And mind you, I'm not going to criticize the decision for Utah State to fill its bye week with Memphis because in the situation they were put in, I don't think you could have ever said no, even though that decision isn't really going to pay off because Memphis is basically, I think they're a quad 3 game.
Right now, yes.
And not likely to do much better. But again, with when Utah State got the call saying, hey, do you want to have a home and home with Memphis? The answer was yes before we even picked up the phone. So
Memphis is currently at 104 in the net. To get them into a quad 2, they'd have to move all the way up to 75.
Yeah.
And that's probably not going to happen.
That's unlikely with how incredibly inconsistent they are.
Yeah.
So it is what it is now. Like, we're not going to criticize anybody because the situation is what it is. And Utah State has to try and get as much rest as it can. And mind you, they're going to get a bit more rest because they're going Tuesday to Saturday, where they just played 3 games within 7 days because they played a game on Wednesday, Saturday, and Tuesday. So before they even hit a full week, they played 3 games in 6 days. And you can kind of tell a lot of the guys were gassed in the game against Fresno. You saw it. Some players, Adlan Elamine looked tired. Zach Keller looked absolutely beat on some of those possessions. And it led to some Fresno State runs. It led to some kind of lazy fouls. And so Utah State getting a little bit more rest, and hopefully you can get a blowout win over Memphis to have another game where there's not as many minutes, and then go, you get to stay at home again for Boise. And hopefully this 3 games at home in a row with a pretty decent amount of rest in between each one will help revitalize the Aggies a little bit after they went on a 2-game road trip. They were on the road for 5 days straight at New Mexico, at Wyoming. That took a lot out of them, which you kind of see in the Wyoming game. And heck, to a degree, defensively, you saw it against Fresno State.
Yeah.
Now you get a bit more rest. You get to be at home. They're not going to be in a road game until the 21st when they go to Nevada. Of course, that's going to kind of start a stretch where they got to play at Nevada, at San Diego State, home against Grand Canyon, at UNLV, and then home against New Mexico.
Yeah, it's a gauntlet to finish out this season.
That's a heck of a way to finish the
There are
the season.
no easy breaks when you look at the rest of from here on out.
So, yeah, this is where Utah State needs to rest and recuperate as much as they possibly can, maximize the rest that you get between the end of the regular season and the conference tournament for obvious reasons, where that's going to be 3 games and 3 nights, like at minimum. Worse if you don't manage to get into one of those top 4 spots. So getting that rest for these players in whatever way you can. I mean, the whole team got today off. Coach Calhoun talked about that in the postgame. They're just getting today off. They're going to come back on Thursday. Just take one day, get away from each other, rest. Don't do any film. Don't do any practice. Just rest. Then get back to it. Get back to the grind and go 100%. Once you get some of that very important rest. More on the Young Power Sports Logan text line 9-5 with another one. Just noting a foul from earlier, or a text from earlier that we missed, saying the foul disparity from the first half, only 2. I thought the second half, 34 fouls was never going to end. Why a ref like that? Can you guys explain? Technically, there were 10 fouls in the first half. There were 5 apiece. There were 2 free throws, but there were 5 fouls called in each half. They're on each team in the first half. And then, what was the end? So Utah State had 15 fouls called on them in the second half. Fresno had 11. And there were 40 free throws in the second half. after 2 in the first half.
Yeah.
That
is totally bonkers.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. And then 9-3-5 also adding, I do like how coach say if you don't play hard on defense, I'm pulling you out, just like the big lineup change at the start of the game. Yeah, that was kind of another theme that we saw, is that Fresno State goes on an 8-0 run. When they hit that second three-pointer, they hit 2 3-pointers, then a layup. And they hit that second three-pointer, coach pulls 4 guys off the bench. Elijah Perryman, Colby King, Gary Clark, and Carson Templin. And they did a dang near full lineup change. Mason was the only one who survived that lineup change. And now, to the starters' credit, they got it. All those guys came up to the scorers table, but by the time those guys actually checked in, the game had gotten back to 10-8. So the starters recovered a little bit. But the thing is, the bench guys came in, kept it close, but eventually they began what was, I think, an 18-5 run or something like that. Because that's what took it, where they're kind of going back and forth as they made it through the teens. Fresno was up 20-18, and then that's where the 18-5 run comes in, because the Aggies were suddenly up 36-25. And a lot of that was some of the bench guys like Colby King, Elijah Perryman. You also had Zach Keller kind of come back in, where I think him and Elijah Perryman had 5 first-half threes between them.
Yeah, crazy what we saw out of Zach Keller last night.
Yeah,
somebody we really haven't talked too much about.
People were surprised that he could hit a three-pointer, but I've been waiting for him to actually take threes the entire season. Like, come on, you're wide open. Why aren't you shooting it? And then he does, and then you could see the second one. He was really confident, and he drained that one too.
Yeah,
tripled his made three-pointers on the season. Went from 1 to 3.
Good to put that on film, so defenses now have to pay attention to him.
Yeah.
A couple of the texts coming in. 6294. Vance Wahlberg is totally Steve Ballmer, as opposed to what 5338 said was Dale Renlund.
Yeah, he does look a little bit more like Steve Ballmer.
Then 5338 actually on cue. One call I haven't seen lately is flopping. Has that dumb rule been finally repealed? No.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been repealed. It's one of those that they just stop emphasizing.
I saw it called. It was not a Utah State game. It was another game in conference. I want to say it was at a Nevada game. I don't remember who they were playing. It was the opponent. It wasn't Nevada, but it does get called, but it's not nearly as often.
I think one thing that helps is that they adjusted the charge rule to make it more difficult to draw a charge. And so I think that, because that was where a lot of the flopping calls, like it was basically just 90%,
just flinging your body with minimal contact.
And trying to draw a charge. And since they've made drawing charges more difficult, then, and that's something I like is basically try your best to legislate drawing charges out of the game. Don't legislate offensive fouls out of the game. And just as important to legislating charges out of the game, let defenders play defense. Because the one thing I was annoyed by is Drake Allen, he jumped straight up and even slightly backwards, to be honest. More backwards than if he was moving in either direction. He was moving backwards. Arms straight up, doesn't bring his arms down, but the referee says, oh, it's a foul.
Yeah.
Just because there was a lot of contact, and the referee was like, there's a foul. And it's like, let a man play defense.
Yeah, that was really weird how they officiated the second half.
Just let them actually play defense. Don't call a foul just because there's a load of contact at the rim. It's the most frustrating thing in the world when you see a referee crew that is incapable of judging, when there's substantial contact, but judging whether or not substantial contact equals foul-worthy contact. I know that's not the proper terminology for referees. I just can't think of the proper terminology right now. But that's kind of how I'm trying to explain it.
Just going back to the game, just individual performances. Really impressed with Elijah Perryman. We've seen some games where he's kind of all gas, no brakes, and maybe a little out of control, where he's cost the Aggies some possessions. But we've talked a lot about Adlan Elamine and how he's kind of grown into his position and his role and how much he's a vital part of Utah State's success right now. Elijah has had moments where he is kind of in that same vein, but then he kind of not necessarily disappears, but his impact isn't as known. Sometimes maybe he's a liability when he's on the court, but you have to play him because Drake Allen maybe has stretches where he's a little bit of a liability. But last night he was fantastic for most of the game. and really like to see him attacking opponents. His outside shot was hitting, and he was absolutely a net positive for the team. So I'd love to see Elijah Perryman in how he had a great game. I'd love to see that consistency grow if possible. But if Utah State has a great weapon at point guard, coming off the bench, like what he provided last night, wow, it's awesome for Utah State, and their ceiling just keeps going higher.
Yeah, it's really, really nice to have a great backup point guard, and not just a great backup point guard, but as you mentioned, the word you used, weapon. Like, that's something that Elijah Perryman was able to be at times, more in non-conference play, hit a bit of a freshman wall. You look at kind of the middle portion of the season, where I know he had that. There was a game where he had 13 and 10. Of course, actually, the part I'm looking at includes that, but there's about a 13-game stretch where he was averaging 4.5 points, 3.5 assists, but he was shooting under 40% from the field, under 16% from three, and was having far more, 2 to 4 point games than he was having where he was, 13 points and 10 assists. But the last couple of, few games have been a little bit more solid for him. He didn't get a ton of burn against Wyoming, but he played decently well in his minutes against New Mexico. Had those, 5 points and assists, but more especially getting back to it against Fresno State, where 16 points, 7 assists. You mentioned the 3-pointers. Like, that middle stretch of the season, he was shooting 16%. Well, in his last 3 games, he's 5 of 7.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of work is being done by going 4 of 5. So, that's most of his last couple of games is just shooting 4 of 5 from 3. But get a bit of a reset there, return to the mean. Because, in high school, he was like a 35, 36% three-point shooter. Try and return to that a little bit more. I know in college it's moved back, but I think when he's able to get his outside shot working a little bit, then that just, it elevates his impact on the court. Because I think some teams have started sagging off him a little bit, and then suddenly against Fresno, they couldn't sag off on him.
Right.
And it created some lanes for him. He only hit 1 shot inside the arc, but that's when he's able to start getting a bunch of assists too. It's the kind of thing we talk about when we want Jordy Barnes to be more aggressive. Elijah Perryman is doing that.
Yes.
And because he has vision that is in some ways comparable to Jordy Barnes, where he has, him and Jordy are the 2 best passers on the team, followed not too far behind by Drake Allen. And so when he's able to attack and create those opportunities, he then has the vision to find the open man, 3-pointer, dump off pass, whatever. And so that's where he can get all these assists.
Led the team last night in assists with 7, only 1 turnover on the night. So scoring, but then also dishing. That's great performance by Elijah Perryman. Love to see more of that as we continue on to the closeout of the season.
Yeah. Do we have any more? I don't think we had any more texts. I think we got through them all.
I think we've pretty much cleared them.
Okay.
Other than those that address the Jazz stuff, which we'll get into later.
Yeah, we'll try and circle back on some of these texts that talk about the Jazz in the second hour as we kind of revisit that discussion on the Jazz and tanking. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll dive more fully into other Mountain West games. The 2 other games that happened yesterday, San Jose and UNLV played, Colorado State and Air Force played. Both were, one was a really wide margin, one was a decently wide margin. We'll talk about both and tonight's marquee matchup between Grand Canyon and New Mexico. Coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
This is Garrett with Cache Valley Bank. Life has a way of moving quickly. Kids growing up, students starting fresh, and business owners taking bold new steps. At Cache Valley Bank, we're here for all of it. Whether you're opening your first account, growing your business, saving for the future, or planning what comes next, we're proud to be your trusted financial partner right here at home. Cache Valley Bank. Real relationships, real solutions for every stage of life. Member FDIC.
Copiers, printers, service, and supplies are just the beginning. Les Olson IT is the premier source for your business's structured cabling, IT, software, telephones, and security systems. We partner with you to find the ideal solution to all of your office technology needs. Tell us your goals and we'll get you there. Find out more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
Fall in love all over again this Valentine's at the Riverwood Sweetheart Soiree. Join us February 14th from 6 to 9 p.m. for an unforgettable evening of romance. Enjoy a gourmet prime rib buffet complete with irresistible sweetheart desserts. Savor every moment while enjoying live music from Kellen and Kendall, setting the perfect mood for the evening. And sip and smile with an all-you-can-drink soda bar. Make this Valentine's more than dinner. Make it an experience at the Riverwood Sweetheart Soiree. Visit riverwoodsvalentinebuffet.planningpod.com. riverwoodsvalentinebuffet.planningpod.com.
Hi, this is Ashley with LSS Insurance. Medicare can seem complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Let us help. We'll answer all your questions and get you specific information that fits your needs. Medicare is not one size fits all. We'll help you find the right coverage for you. Call 752-9493. You can ignore the TV and the junk mail. We'll get you the exact information you need. We will help you access the benefits that are important to you. Call LSS Insurance at 752-9493.
Northern Utah and Southern Idaho's home for sports. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen. Do you enjoy watching Utah State playing those jerseys?
The fans looked great. Spectrum Magic.
Could you even see the fans?
Yeah,
they're dressed as
empty seats. That used to be the old joke that it was a full stadium of fans dressed as empty seats.
Yeah.
When like no one showed up.
Yeah.
And Utah State literally did that last night, but they were fans there. But
they were actually kind of dressed as the seats. Managed to take one of the shirts home as a souvenir.
I thought atmosphere looked awesome. Jerseys though, I still stand by. They just look like UTEP jerseys.
They look really solid in person. I liked them more than when I saw them on the social media, mostly because I couldn't even really get a good look at them. But in person, I still wish they would have leaned more into that color scheme instead of trying to hold on too much to the blue and white. Because whenever anything like blue and white showed up in the arena, it was like, wait a minute,
it's really out of place.
Yeah, because they'd have on the scoreboard, they'd play their promotional videos of the typical stuff. You have Big Blue out there, but they changed the scoreboard. Normally the scoreboard background is blue. They changed it so it was like that yellow, orange, and dark orange. So it was everywhere. They just basically everything was those three colors: the yellow, orange, and dark orange. And so every time blue or white showed up, it was almost weird. Wait a minute, that's the wrong colors. So I wish that the jerseys would lean a little bit more into that. But I think part of the reason maybe they wanted to lean more into the classic Aggie look because they knew they were selling these jerseys. And it might be a little harder to sell them, or there might be slightly less demand if they looked like UTEP jerseys.
Right.
Because a lot of the people that are buying these jerseys, they're buying them because they're going to go hang them up on the wall.
Sure. It's unique. It's an oddity.
Yeah.
It's a collector's item.
So you want it to mostly look like a typical Utah State jersey, but with a bit of Spectrum Magic flair for the fact that they are now unique items.
Yeah. Yeah. If they want to do it in the future, go classic Aggie colors, but have the players wear socks and shoes that match. Don't put it on the jersey.
Yeah. 9315 saying, I heard Eric today start a guest appearance with Unhappy Vibes because they started off with a question about USU jerseys. Yeah, you were down south. Bryson, I can never say the gentleman's name.
Bryson
right.
Bianucci. Yeah. So they had me on this morning on their show down in Salt Lake.
I know they normally they have me on, but they decided to have you on.
They try to mix it up with a couple different guys. They've had Stockton on. They've had JD on.
Yeah, it's a good thing because if they only had me on, they'd lose viewers. So they need to mix it up between a lot of the Utah State guys up here.
I had Bryce Larson on last week talking about Utah Valley stuff. So I didn't say I'll have you on if you have me on. It wasn't one of those.
Sub for sub and all that kind of stuff.
But he reached out yesterday and asked if I'd late yesterday and asked if I'd be willing to pop on their show.
Late yesterday, it was a really last second. Yeah, no, it was fine. They're always fantastic.
But yeah, it was fun. Good to chop it up with them. And they opened up with my opinion on the jerseys. So
9952. I agree with Eric. Jerseys should have been 100% Spectrum colors and left off the blue.
That's not what I was.
That's my opinion.
That's not what I was saying.
Yeah. I think we're gonna just say that was Eric's opinion. Yeah. He loves the jerseys more than life itself. So let's talk a little bit about the other games that happened. Spectrum Magic, again, it was amazing, and they need to do that again. We're like, it was fantastic having all those jerseys or all those shirts.
I love the novelty stuff. I think that's great, and the fact that it's raising money, the way they were able to work that angle to raise money for the basketball program.
They got $20,000, which is about 15% of a starting level player, and you just got it by selling some shirts.
Yeah, great idea.
That's a pretty easy way to generate some money. But yeah, there were 3 games in the Mountain West last night. Utah State and Fresno State, Colorado State and Air Force, they both started at 7 p.m. Both very similar margins, actually.
Yeah.
Utah State 91-78, Colorado State 91-74. Over Air Forces. The Falcons remain winless in Mountain West play at 0-13. Colorado State now up to 14-10 on the season, 5-8 in Mountain West play. The more interesting game was UNLV against San Jose, as that one was decently close for a time. And I think in the second half there was a point or was there a point in the second half where San Jose was leading? I think it was close a few times. They were leading at some point in the first half. Yeah, they were leading kind of late in the first half. They go to the under 4 media timeout. They were up by 2. UNLV did go into halftime up 4. That's the game I was trying to track while I was writing my recap. And it stayed within a possession or two, tied for a moment in the early second half. But UNLV slowly but surely pulling away as things got into the 50s and 60s and kind of made a big run to make it 70-57, and then they ultimately end up winning 82-75. So, in the end, a 7-point margin, but it was one where the UNLV for, the back end of the second half was usually up by double digits or near double digits.
Yeah, but they almost had another late game collapse like they did against Fresno State.
That's true.
Up by 13, but then with 3.5 minutes to go, they're only up by 3.
Yeah.
And San Jose was able to come back and make it a close game.
Yeah, 90 seconds left. It was a 5-point game. That's hit 2 3-pointers and suddenly you're up.
Yeah, it was anybody's ball game in the closing minutes. And once again, UNLV struggled to close out a lead, but they figured out a way to still secure the win. That may be more of an indictment of San Jose than UNLV.
That's true. San Jose is winless in the Mountain West except for their one game against Air Force. So that
always count on Air Force.
Yeah, it's San Jose might get 2 wins in Mountain West play, and they're both going to be against Air Force.
Yeah,
they already played them on the road, so they get them at home. That may be their next win in Mountain West play. But yeah, interesting there from UNLV where they're close. They got Tyron Jones back. He's been out for a few games. Of course, San Jose, holy lack of depth, partly because of injuries. But they played 7 guys in the entire game. One of them played only 5 minutes. So they basically had a 6-man rotation.
6-man rotation.
2 different players played every minute. Colby Garland, Pasha Gudarzi, and then Adrian Myers played 39 minutes. They had Melvin Bell played 36, and then they had a couple guys off the bench that were 14 minutes and 26 minutes. So
wow,
San Jose is walking on air. They need somebody.
Get them some oxygen.
Yeah, basically.
Big showdown tonight in the Mountain West on FS1 at 8 o'clock. New Mexico at Grand Canyon. We've seen how good Grand Canyon can be at home. New Mexico on a bit of a slide. Can they rebound to maintain an opportunity to be in the top 3? Or will Grand Canyon leapfrog them? Because Grand Canyon is 8-4 in conference record. New Mexico's 9-4. Grand Canyon is favored by 1.5. And I'd love to see New Mexico steal a win at Grand Canyon, get back in the win column, and stay on top of the top 3. If the Mountain West wants 3 teams in the tournament, New Mexico has to win this game. This is as much of a must-win for New Mexico as you can possibly get.
Yeah, definitely. New Mexico can't afford any more slip-ups if they want any prayer of an at-large spot. And yeah, for the good of the conference, and I think also for the good of Utah State.
Yes.
Because you want New Mexico on your heels more than Grand Canyon. Because you've already got a loss to Grand Canyon, and that ramps up the pressure Granted, you do get both of these teams at home. Like, that's your next matchup against both these teams. But where you've already got that win over New Mexico, that maybe takes off a little bit of the pressure. There's going to be a ton of pressure when Grand Canyon comes here to the Spectrum to get that win back that you lost at Grand Canyon. We got to take a break. We'll finish up the first hour here on the Full Court Press, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
Now here's a concept. You earmark a third of your profits to go back into the community to local charities. Dex Imaging does that. My name is Nate Lamson, and I'd like to share with you what I know about the company that acquired Valley Office Systems. Dex Imaging is committed to continuing quality customer service on your copier, printer, or office solution while raising the bar to become a strong community partner. Visit deximaging.com. We think globally, but act locally.
It's cold outside, but you can keep warm inside with a quality-built, super-efficient York furnace. Count on a furnace from York because it's backed by the strongest warranties available. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer, at 752-7272. Online at advancedheating-ac.com.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice. When it comes to home care, it's important for you to know you do have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of home care services, remember Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient, not the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Call for a free home safety evaluation, 787-1369, and visit primrosecare.com. Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Reminder that batteries, headlights, wiper blades, they're all in stock and on sale now at your local Napa Auto Parts. They got Chemical Guys car wash and detailing kits for only $49.99. Pick up the last bags of Blue Heat Ice Melt at $10. Air fresheners, snow scrapers, shop towels, seafoam, and more. Again, on sale at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts store. They got locations from Preston all the way down to Providence. And Eric, it's time for us to do the stat that blew our mind and the Full Court Press players of the week, but I can't find the fancy little liner thing that has all the music on it. So let's just start.
You'll have to sing it.
No, I'm not going to sing it. Because we closed out the menu that has all that stuff. I need to find it again. So let's start with the stat that blew our minds, Eric.
Stat that blew my mind is going back to Super Bowl weekend and what Seattle did, not just on the Super Bowl itself, though there's several things with the Super Bowl, what they did in that game, but part of it is the lead up to that, including the Super Bowl itself. Seattle, the first team ever to go through the playoffs without any turnovers. It's never been done before, but they had 28 turnovers in the course of the regular season. They ranked second most in the NFL. So it's not like this was a regular trend for the Seahawks. They totally bucked the trend when they got into the playoffs. That was super impressive. But one other thing of note in the Super Bowl itself, prior to Sunday, no team had ever made 5 or more field goals in a Super Bowl. No team had ever punted 7 or more times in a Super Bowl, with every punt netting at least 40 yards. And never before had a team had 6 or more sacks and a 40-yard defensive touchdown in a Super Bowl. They did all 3 of those on Sunday.
It's impressive.
It was an impressive performance by the Seahawks.
Yeah, it was pretty good. The Seahawks were pretty good, you might say.
You might say.
The Patriots were not
good.
They were
not particularly good.
They were decent on defense.
They had a decent fourth quarter.
I'd even say above average on defense. But when the offense is constantly handing the other team great field position, yeah, it kind of sucks.
Yeah. You got a stat?
Not particularly. I had the one because we ended up already talking about it. The one about the free throws and fouls from the Utah State Fresno game.
That does blow my mind.
Where like it's just again, referees inventing a reason to call fouls where there is none. And it's like players didn't really change how they were playing. The referees just decided we're going to start calling more fouls. And it is the trope that I hate the most. It's like referees got to tighten things up in the second half. It's like, no,
they don't.
If anything, it should be the opposite. Yeah. It's like, let them play in the second half. And if it gets chippy, okay, ring it back in. But it's ridiculous.
For player, I want to give a shout out to Mason Falslev for his week last week. I know it was last night. It wasn't as impactful as his 2 games the previous week. But 27 points, 6 boards, 5 assists in a win at Wyoming, 19 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals in a dominant team performance at New Mexico. 2 big wins on the road. Mason Falslev made it happen for the Aggies in both of those. Probably should have gotten the Player of the Week award, but I understand why Andrews got it.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to Utah's 2 star players, Jaren Jackson Jr., Lowry Markin, for the troopers they are, playing dominant 3 quarters of basketball, but never a 4th quarter. Those are my players of the week.
Very solid.
That's going to do it for us in this first hour. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about the Jazz coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
And Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. Last night, the Spurs ran into an injury-riddled Los Angeles Laker team. LeBron wasn't there. Luka wasn't there. Austin Reeves not there as well. The final margin was 28. A shorthanded team losing big to a contender. Big deal, but the score was not the story. Victor was. 40 points, 12 rebounds, 2 steals in 26 minutes. Doing it against a depleted Laker roster is not what makes it special. It's the efficiency and the timestamp that demand attention. In the shot clock era, it's just the 5th time a player has scored at least 40 points in 26 minutes or less. That is rare air reserved for the most explosive scorers in the league. Every time Wembanyama steps onto the floor, we see something new, a reminder that his ceiling may not exist. The frightening part for the rest of the NBA is not what he did last night, it's what he's going to do. After all, he's just 22. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.